Hello, Rama Rama Pupodu. Hope all are in good health, feeling great, wonderful, having a relaxed and happy life. Now let's go to chapter 32. 3. In the cave. The mountaineer escorted the sadhus to a cave about 100 yards from the shrine of Nilkant, on the edge of a stream that supplied water to the shrine. The place was out of the way. The cave had a wide, yawning mouth at its front, and as you entered it, it narrowed until you came to a smaller inner cavity just sufficient for one person to sit in it. They swept the floor and set up the fire. There were signs of ashes indicating its previous occupation by some sadhu. The sweet music of the running stream close by and the distant roars of wild beasts were heard in the nights. The cave presented a prospect at once weird and awe-inspiring, and Ramdas liked the place very much. The victuals that Ramcharan Das processed lasted them for about 5 days. Meanwhile, news spread among sadhus and pilgrims in Rishikesh and Swarga Ashram that two sadhus were living on this hill in a cave, situated in a dreadful place. Hundreds of people commenced to come for the darshan of the sadhus. They brought various presents such as milk, grapes, sugar candy, fried gram, almonds, etc. It was clear that God was busy in seeing them, that they did not want the necessities of life. One day, Ramcharan Das asked, Swamiji, how long are we going to stay here? Ramdas has no idea, replied Ramdas. It may be for months. The place has captured Ramdas' heart. When there were no visitors, they started collecting firewood. Stout green branches were cut down and put up in the sun for drying. Ramdas hewed down a thick stump of a dried up tree. The axe was a small one, and he had to work at it for 3 days, spending on it a couple of hours in the morning and evening. At last it was cut down, but the heavy log had yet to be carried to the mouth of the cave, and this task was reserved for a later occasion. Daily, the number of visitors increased. One evening, a strong and well-built sadhu paid them a visit. He had bangles on his wrists, rings on his fingers, and a joli suspended on his shoulder, containing a number of things. He presented Ramdas with a big lump of charas or extract of ganja for smoking. Ramdas accepted the gift. The sadhu was a ganja smoker himself. After some time, he left the cave. On his departure, Ramdas threw the lump of charas into the fire and burnt it up into ashes. Next day, the sadhu turned up again. He was short of charas. He expected Ramdas to provide him with some from the lump offered to him the previous evening. May I have some charas? He asked. Ramdas destroyed it in the fire, the lump of charas you presented him with, replied Ramdas. Well done, Maharaj, he said with a sign of relief. I have become a slave to this vice, and by your contact I hope to be freed from it. Thereafter, taking a great liking for Ramdas, he became a constant visitor. Now, the usual provisions for cooking dal and roti were nearly exhausted, although the gifts of other eatables were raining down every day. Ramcharan Das for the daily dal and roti. Ramcharan Das was for the daily dal and roti. Swamiji, he said one night, the provisions have run out. I intend going down to Marwadi Kshetra in Swarga Ashram and bringing provisions to last us for at least a fortnight. We require also earthen pots for fetching and storing water. I shall obtain these. Ramdas observed. Why all this trouble? God provide us here. Let us be satisfied with the things He sends to us. No, Swamiji, a meal of dal and roti once a day is essential. There is no trouble for me. I can manage to get the articles without difficulty. I have resolved upon it. I will start tomorrow morning and try to return by the evening, he said. He was obstinate, and Ramdas submitted. Early the next morning, he climbed down the hill and made his way to Swarga Ashram. That evening, he was detained at the ashram. Ramdas enjoyed the perfect solitude of the cave in the night. Next day, in the evening at dusk, Ramcharan Das trotted into the cave with a heavy burden on his head. He was carrying an enormous gunny bag bulging out with its contents, and also two big earthen pots hanging at his back. He lowered the sack and released the pots and rolled on the floor of the cave through utter exhaustion. For full 10 minutes he was unable to speak. He was just panting for breath. Then he slowly opened the bag and took out the bundle after bundle of rice, dal, wheat, flour, potatoes, jaggery, ghee, sugar, and whatnot. The provisions would suffice for over a month. What a wonderful fellow you are. Why so much? Ramdas asked. So much? Why? We need it all, he exclaimed. It saves my going down frequently. For a month at least, we can remain here quietly without any anxiety about food. Ram, you seem to trust more in these foodstuffs than in God, Ramdas remarked. Ram Charandas was not inclined to talk. The inner cavity in the cave was at once converted into a storeroom, and the bundles were nicely arranged inside it, and Ramdas helped him in the work. On the succeeding day, the fuel not being quite dry, Ramcharan Das experienced great difficulty in cooking. Moreover, as the cooking had to be done in the open air, the strong breezes prevented the fire burning steadily, so that day rotis were underbaked and the dal half boiled. Ramdas was lacking in teeth. Somehow he managed to swallow the raw food. Even the meals prepared on the previous days were not well cooked, as they had told upon Ramdas' digestion. Ramcharandas was still a sadhaka in this line as well. The cumulative effect of the indifferently cooked food affected Ramdas, and he got a severe attack of dysentery which continued for over a fortnight. 2 days later, Ramdas had a visit from half a dozen sadhus. One of them, in the course of talk, suggested, Maharaj, why are you cooping yourself up here in this solitary place? You ought to travel in the Punjab and Kashmir and enjoy the prem of the devotees of those parts, especially in the Punjab, where the people are so filled with devotion and love. You should not fail to visit that province. Ramdas was at once impressed by his advice and believed that the hint came from God himself for making a move from the cave. When the visitors departed, Ramdas turned to Ramcharandas and said, Ram, it is a command of God that we should depart from here and travel towards Punjab and Kashmir. Make yourself ready for starting. The boy, hearing Ramdas' words, turned pale and then blue. He fondly glanced at the storeroom. It is all very well, said Ramcharan Das with a slow voice and wry face. Thank God we are saved the terrible labor, that is, of rolling up the heavy stump of that tree from the ditch into which it has fallen to the mouth of the cave. At this, Ramdas could not control a laugh, and the boy could not help joining with him. The stored provisions and the pots were then distributed among the hill men and women, and by evening they found themselves in the small thatched kuti near the Marwadi Annakshetra of Swarga Ashram. The sadhu who had been addicted to charas but who was now free from his clutches tucked on to Ramdas. He also accompanied Ramdas down the hill and remained with him. He insisted upon following Ramdas wherever he went. Ramdas dissuaded him, saying that he would find it very difficult to keep pace with Ramdas while walking. The weak point about the sadhu was that he could not walk fast on account of his bulky body. Moreover, Ramdas assured him that by keeping company with Ramdas, he would not gain much, since the truth he is in search of was within himself. Eventually, he was prevailed upon to abandon the idea of hanging on to him. Ramchandra Timande and Brijal Munim of Marwadi Kshetra were overflowing in their kindness and hospitality. Ramdas proposed to travel on foot to Kashmir over the mountains. He was told that there was a path across the mountains that would lead to Kashmir, only that it was a tedious and perilous one. The undaunted spirit within Ramdas egged him on to undertake the difficult journey. Ramchandra Timande strongly opposed the idea and insisted upon Ramdas travelling by train first to Punjab and then to Kashmir. Swamiji, there are two famous places worth visiting in the Punjab, Chintapurni and Jwalaji. I will see that you are both provided with tickets as far as Oshinapur station, where from you have to travel on foot to these noted shrines. The kind-hearted friend succeeded in persuading Ramdas to leave Rishikesh with Ramcharandas by a train running towards Punjab. That's all, folks. Let's see in the next chapter. Thank you. Bye bye. Rama Rama Pupoda.